Hello everybody, today we are in the département de la Charente, north of Angoulême, in a small area which name is le Ruffécois. And le Ruffécois is one of the richest areas of Europe in matters of megalithism. Here are found dozens of tumulus or dolmens in a group or isolated, so that we can speak of a true giant necropolis. As a reminder, a tumulus would be this mound of earth or this mound of stones that was covering a funerary chamber made of monolithic pillars covered by huge stones, which name is the dolmen. So actually most of the time what we see in the landscape are dolmens, the mound of earth, the tumulus, being destroyed by erosion or by human activity. Here, in the commune of Tusson, we have the opportunity to discover some of these tumulus which were never destroyed and never excavated. Actually, there are 4 remaining on the same line. The orientation would be northwest, southwest, and they are on top of a plateau so that everybody could see them from very far away. Some of these tumulus are giant, like the one which is to my right. This is a tumulus of Gros d'Oignon, and it is 140 meters long, 40 meters wide, and 10 meters high. What is inside? Probably several dolmens. Nobody knows. Excavations are meant for the next generations. But now let's try to see what is found in a tumulus. Speaking of dolmens as we imagine them, there are 2 good examples behind me. The big perrotte, la grosse perrotte in French, and the little perrotte in the bottom of the picture. The table of the little perrotte is about 40 tons, when this one is 100 tons. So we are now arrived at the dolmen of La Motte de la Jaquille. La Motte shows us that we are dominating the surroundings, and the dolmen is still partly sheltered by its tumulus, which was a circular one. Unfortunately, we don't know when, but the dolmen was partly destroyed, particularly the capstone, and it was also looted. But fortunately 10 years ago there were some serious scientific excavations. By the way, I remind you that we are speaking of prehistory. I mean that the people who built this monument belong to the mid-Neolithic. I speak of 5,000–6,000 years before us. So let's get inside by the official passageway, which was covered. So let's get inside the monument by its original entrance. It is this kind of passageway. I remind you that it was a kind of corridor covered by flat stones. And you will notice that sometimes you find big monoliths, big rocks, and the gaps were built with this kind of flat stone, the same flat stones that were used to build the mound of stones. Something very important and unique in Europe is that before entering the funerary chamber, there was a true door. I mean, a stone door. It was weighing about 300 kilos. It was about 1.10 meters high. And this is a reproduction, but you can see that there were big pivots sculpted into the stone. The bottom pivot was received in a kind of hollow in the seal stone, when the upper pivot was probably received in a kind of hollow made in a wooden lintel. Probably it was a copy of doors found in usual dwellings. Another interesting thing is that once you are inside the funerary chamber, you see the surface, it's not that big. One can see that the stones, the face of the stones, the face of the orthostats was carefully hammered and even smoothed, almost polished, particularly the orthostats that were found here, those which were in front of the entrance and those which could still be lit by the light of the day. They were even more carefully smoothed. Of course, it makes a difference between those orthostats and the stones I showed you at the beginning, which were not at all smoothed, as if the builders wanted to make a kind of contrast between the world of the alive, the corridor belongs still to the world of the alive, and the world of the dead. Another interesting discovery is that some of those orthostats are carefully joined thanks to kind of insertion grooves, but sometimes it does not work. It does not fit. For example, here does not work, or even here it's even worse. You can see that this stone is kind of a bit in front of the other one. So now they think that the builders, for one reason they ignore, decided to modify the shape of this room. The archaeologists even speak of recycling this funerary chamber and the stones which were found inside. So it's time to go to the promontory. It is very easy now to understand that the tumulus of La Motte de la Jacquie was built on a kind of promontory. It was on purpose, of course, and the view is absolutely magnificent all around the tumulus. Actually, if you follow my hand this direction, behind the little white house in the bottom of the picture, on top of the plateau, you discover several thickets. This is where you find the tumulus of Tusson that we previously saw. So imagine that there were no trees on these tumulus. They were covered with limestone flat stones, white limestone, which was certainly visible from a long distance around. And of course it was on purpose. Now archaeologists think that these Neolithic populations organized the building of their monuments, their megaliths, in front of the shape of the landscape. It's time now to leave the Rue Fécois and its megaliths, but of course before leaving I feel obliged to show you la pierre du sacrifice, the stone of the sacrifice. So we arrive in front of the Tumulus B, it is his name. It's one of the 11 tumulus found in the small forest of La Boixe, and you can see that this time the tumulus is circular. You can see the facade, it has been restored. The facade made of all those flat limestone stones, and the type of dolmen is Angoulême. In other words, it's a long corridor that is ending into a quadrangular chamber made of orthostats, those big flat stones on which is resting a big capstone. Another particularity is that inside this funerary chamber, the faces of the orthostats were carefully hammered and smoothed. Let's go and see that. So, let's get in. First particularity, there are two side funerary chambers, one to my right. You will also notice that the walls are made of either big monolithic stones or dry stone walls. And now we arrive in the main funerary chamber. You will notice the huge capstone, huge stone really, which is supported by those orthostats. This is the way how we call those flat vertical stones. So in matters of decoration, very little is seen. You can see some grooves surrounding the entrances. There is another one here. Some other grooves there. And inside the second lateral chamber, there is an axe, maybe an axe that is sculpted. Here to the left, one can see a kind of, probably a kind of axe. That's all. Wow, look at that. This is la pierre du sacrifice, the stone of the sacrifice. Wow, big stone. Look at this big capstone, because here was found another of these 11 tumulus of the forest of La Boixe. The tumulus was entirely destroyed in order to build the next road, and only the capstone remained. And well, you can see this deep groove, which of course was meant to receive the blood of the victims, since it is a sacrifice stone. Actually, not at all. This is a groove made by the quarrymen who destroyed the rest of this tumulus, and they did not go on splitting this stone. This is why you find this deep groove. Well, this kind of legend is very common in France. I think there are dozens of dolmens that are still called la pierre du sacrifice, or the sacrifice stone, or things like that. Well, it's time to leave because the sun is already low. I hope you enjoy this short tour, but I realized that we did not speak of another aspect of megalithism, which is the menhirs, but we shall see that in another video.